Hi friend. If you click to check out some swatches, demo, and info about the new VIseart Violette Etendú, then please keep on watching. Hi, I'm Alicia. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. KINKYSWEAT stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things on movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. I feel like I need to change my earrings. Hold on. Maybe some cats? I think the cats would be a little better. Or maybe the pink triangles to kind of pick up what's going on in the palette. No, Alicia, put it back on the paper. And how about some Lisa Eldridge Embrace Gloss in Beauty? I feel like lips a little dry and I feel color appropriate for Violette Etendú. A huge thank you to VIseart for sending me this palette. They were so nice enough, as I mentioned in the Petite 4. Beautiful packaging, and I mentioned this again in Petite 4 that this is a new format for VIseart. It's bigger than their edit palettes, which I failed to grab before filming. Excuse me. Oh my god. Oh. This is Dark Edit, which is one of my most favorite curations from them. I do have a product knowledge pamphlet here. A seductive secret lies within tantalizing pops of duochromatic dreams and a cool tone nude hues. There's no A. Cool tone nude hues. You can't read. Introducing Violette, an intoxicating extension of our cherished Liaison palette, which I haven't had the pleasure of using, but I have heard really nice things about it. Our captivating Violette palette transcends reality with sumptuously saturated shade. Feels like I'm reading a Pat McGrath product description. Ranging from exquisitely pale gossamer lilacs to the provocative splendor of bold aubergines. Ooh, give me the aubergine. Give it to me. Violette is tonally surrounded by an array of spell-binding. I gotta incorporate that word more often. I think it's helpful. Cool and earthy plums, neutrals, and the softest pinks. This palette is an idyllic match for your effortless, elevated everyday makeup routine with daringly risque shades to express your colorful and artistic whims. Come flirt with us. Flaunt your coquettish charm. This is currently now available on VIseartParis.com. I believe maybe Beautylish and Muse Beauty Pro. If that is the case, I will make sure to include those shop links down below. If so, they will be affiliated. Thank you so much for considering. $44, 12 shades, 0.18 grams, suggested shelf life of 36 months, and this is made in the USA. Hopping on quickly to VIseart to maybe see, okay, we have some context here. Cult favorite hues from Liaison honor our purple eyeshadow lovers' requests. The Violette extension was created as an elevated Prolux everyday stealth chic option for effortless daytime to essential twilight looks. Per artist request, pans are now magnetized and easily depotable, because the more traditional palettes I think they're talking about in regards to Liaison were not magnetic, they were just as mix and match with any Etendú or Petite 4 packaging. Etendú packaging replaces our plastic clamshell packaging, okay, and reduces our carbon footprint by ethically sourced recycled paper. This is not Liaison, but it is Golden Hour. I just wanted to show you the construction of the palette they are referring to. As you see, this is a more traditionally designed palette where the pans are not magnetic. Beautifully designed, however, with good mirror construction. It holds up on its own. Really beautifully nice size mirror. I think, however, they are replacing this palette with this palette construction, which takes on the same design as you saw earlier, the Edit palette, except now it's bigger. Still houses 12 shadows, 1.5 grams each for the pans, which are the same size of the pans found in the Petite 4 quads. Etendú packaging sits prettily between the clutch, which means Etendú is the name of this new palette design and size. It sits prettily between the clutch size Petite Pro and Edit palettes 1 gram and our Slim Pro 12 pan professional palettes 12 grams. These guys right here. The Etendú range holds 1.5 gram magnetized pans and is interchangeable with our Petite 4 collection for on-the-go frolicking. Each Etendú color story features a curated collection of 12 shades, our newest creations and tones pulled from the VIseart archive library, skillfully accumulated to create a divine collection of everyday essential colors with pops of beloved hues from our heritage rich staple eyeshadows. Does that mean that there's some repeats in here? Possibly. We'll be offering our iconic Grand Pro size palettes in December. They will feature fully customizable empty magnetic palettes that accommodate all of the VIseart pan sizes. What? All right, those are the product details. I'm really excited to see this new size from VIseart. Despite it being bigger than their edit design, I still think this very convenient. Not even for travel, because again, I know we're all not going anywhere very far, but just to have room in your makeup storage. You have the fabric tab here that lifts the magnetic paneling and it opens up to a mirror. You could actually hold it up easel style here if you wanted. And then you have these beautiful shades, plastic covering. Let's take this off so you can see the grooves throughout the palette frame that indicate that these pans are indeed magnetic. You could use a small spatula just to lift them out, and this size, like you saw, is the same pan size that exists in Petite 4. Let's come in a little closer for these swatches. That's enough. Embrace. Matte cool toned taupe. Blushing. Medium cool toned taupe. Grenache. Soft mauve matte. Fusion. Matte muted merlot. Bisou shimmer light lilac. Ooh, that's pretty. Wink. Duochrome iced lavender. VIseart duochromes are very lightweight, let me just say. I don't know what the second color is, but you see that the base is very light, and I think it's like a lavender flip in there. Jezebel. Oh, this looks like another duochrome. Bright orchid with a blue duochrome finish. Ooh, that's pretty. Liaison. Matte muted heather purple. Haze. Matte soft lavender. Violette. Cool toned violet shimmer. Passion. Matte vivid purple. And lastly, we have elderberry. Matte deep elderberry. Here are all the shades for Violette. You know, I have to say, because people were, well, I saw the tags, fam, comparing this to Natasha Denona's Lila. Looking at Natasha Denona and looking at Violette, you know what? I have to say Violette leans a little more cool. There's a lot more punch going on from Natasha Denona, and I don't know if you've ever experienced Natasha shadows. Her metallics are a little more full-bodied than VIseart. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just a texture that you might align with more or less. And I guess this starts the comparison portion of the video. I want to start with blushing, because this, for me, kind of reminds me of Per Se and Nude Mauve. Per Se, Nude Mauve. Now you immediately see, yes, Natasha does swatch better with her mattes than VIseart does. That doesn't mean VIseart mattes aren't the bomb. They are usually not great with the swatching, but man, are they magic when you get them on the lid, which is what counts, right? So do Natasha mattes. These are one of my most favorites that exist in all of her collection. But yes, these are very similar. You see that Per Se is a little more gray. Nude Mauve has a little more, as it says, mauve. So dare I say blushing is like a mix between the two. Grenache. And let's also, while we're here, swatch Fusion. Grenache. Fusion. We got 8 mattes in Violette, and we only have 4 mattes in Lila, so that's a huge difference. Amara and Nude Vino. Amara, Nude Vino. Different from Grenache and Fusion. Grenache has a lot more of a pink. Fusion, dare I say, kind of reminds me of Nude Mauve. In comparison to blushing, blushing has more of that gray. And of course, Lila doesn't have like this magenta leaning purple, nor does it have these soft lavender shades here in the matte formula. Violette reminds me of Violette from Violette. Reminds me of Amethyst from Lila. You see Amethyst has a lot more slide in that formula. Also, I noticed that Lila has more of these red, purple leaning shades, especially with the inclusion of this magenta here, as well as a couple of duochromes here, where I feel the majority of the shimmers that exist in Violette. For instance, this duochrome here that maybe, let's see here, not even, I was gonna say Juno, but the shade from Violette that I feel best matches up with Juno is Bisou. Juno. Bisou has a little more purple in it. Juno, a little more silvery. My pamphlet fell, so we'll just go bib pointing. This deeper purple matte here definitely does not exist as a matte in Lila. However, you might find it in a metallic shade. This is Viola from Lila. See how that looks. I still think that's totally different. All in all, fam, I know we love comparisons and finding out if we need a palette or not based on what we already own. They're both purple palettes, but you see one clearly leans a little softer than the other. I do believe you could achieve soft looks from Lila. I have said this before. Lila is one of my most favorite Natasha Denona palettes of all time. You have more variety because you have 15 shadows instead of 12. However, you only have 4 mattes instead of 8 that exists in Violette. How these metallics that can be applied as a matte, they don't necessarily have to just exist on your lid or inner corner. You can rely on a multitude of techniques when it comes to these metallic shadows. However, $44, $129, which I think is more pro appropriate. It's a lot of shadow for one person. This I do think is more appropriate for one individual to use. You still have 12 shades. I know we didn't dive into it yet, but just based on this curation, I think, as it said in the description, elevated every day, despite the fact that these are not your traditionally hued neutral browns and warm browns. It's still very daily friendly. It makes it approachable. It encourages you to think outside the box, to use other colored shadows that primarily exist in your wheelhouse of shades that you use every day, but not intimidating. And again, VIseart formulas are very easy to use. So with that said, why don't we plop some primer on these eyeballs and get started. Also nice to include an eye primer in their PR package, but I actually already had one, so I'm gonna keep this on standby and go in with the one that was already open. This is more of like a silicone clearish base feeling eye primer. If you're not too crazy about that texture, I understand. If you're more aligned with the hourglass texture, which has been one of my favorites for a very long time, I don't mind bouncing in and out of different products for eye primer. You see, you don't have a lot of color, so this might not be ideal for you if you have a lot of discoloration on the lids and you need that to be neutralized before you go in with shadow. What should we start off with first? I definitely want to stay within the realm of mauve, and maybe for the next eye, go more cool tone here. We could even dissect it with quads. So we could do this quad here, either go higher towards mauve or lower towards the more purple leaning hues. Going with my Bristol Beauty #1 brush in with, I think, this one, Grenache. I'm gonna start off with this eye and already loving the shade. Dipping in a third time because I want to build this color up. And as I suspected with this matte, it will blend beautifully. Again, despite how it looks like in a swatch, the way it applies on the skin is just always seamless. Now with Fusion, same brush tapping on the outer lid, giving us a little more depth of color here on the outer part of the lid. Blushing, maybe to blend out these edges further. Just keep building on this gradient. We have plenty of shimmers to go in on the lid with. We could go poppy with this one, or you know what? I do want to apply the duochrome. However, I think I want to try this shade. I think it will pair really nicely with the more mauve leaning mattes. I'm using my finger because I want to get the most out of this shimmer. Just plop it right here on the lid. That's very nice. Tap it, tap, tap. That's pretty. Now in my Esom W21 with the Icy Duochrome shade. On the inner part of the lid, overlapping Violette. I like that, especially overlapping Violette. I think that shade offers up a nice base for that color to show a little strongly on. Tapping on more Violette. You know, I'm taking my V33 brush and whipping Violette on the crease. What I'm running into, however, I think because the VIseart primer is not the tackiest, and if I already had some matte on there, it's a little drier in consistency. Therefore, when you start blending, you might take away some of that shimmer. So I'm just packing it back on. V09 brush with the Fun shade, hitting that on the inner part of the lower lash line. Now I did get some fallout here, unfortunately. I think that was from me tapping on Violette. Let me just tap that away. Taking that lighter duochrome shade more on the inner corner of the eye. Up, and away. Now we gotta tackle the outer lower lash line. Maybe with Fusion, a little bit of Grenache just to blend it out. Connecting top to bottom. And Grenache with the W23 to further blend out those edges. Alright, eye number 1 done. 2, however. Want to try out the lighter lavender shade. I'm sorry, again, the paper fell. I'm far from it. I don't feel like bending down. Hitting that on the crease, seeing what we get from this shade. Because it is lighter, I found that with shades like these, I feel it's best to pounce it on and not swirl and twirl. So that's what we're about to do. And you can see the purple very well. Now with this fun matte going in with my Tuckahoe brush from their holiday collection. It's a shader brush, but very soft, and I want to again tap on instead of fluff on to get maximum color payoff. And then I'll turn the brush on its side to blend that color through the crease. Going back in the bristles to blend those edges, and I'm taking more of that purple shade with the EO1 in combination with that pastel lavender. I think it's a nice pairing. Nice blurring. Maybe a little more Death from Elderberry. See what that does when I plop it on that matte. We get a little bit. Although I lost some of that hue, but as I look at myself in the mirror, I still recognize that brighter violet matte. So you could go either or. You could go in with the soft lavender and then elderberry, or with the more magenta leaning matte. Either combination will do. Going left field now with this duochrome instead of on a small portion of the eye, on the lid this time. Definitely with the finger. That's cool. You could detect more of the blue flip when it's layered over one of the more purpley mattes. Now with Bisou on the inner part of the lid. Bisou overlapping that duochrome is lovely. I know it's not as detectable as if it were applied exclusively on the lid. A beautiful gradient. Why not? We'll take a little more of it and plop it on the inner part of the lid, and that's how it appears on its own. Now back in with this matte, draping it under the lower lash line. Oh, that's very pretty. All right, let's slap on some lashes and I'll be right back. Eye looks complete. We have the well, I would say they're both very punchy because I wanted to create the most impactful looks possible. I understand this palette is made, however, to be elevated every day. But I just had to see these colors work, you know what I'm saying? Of course, chandelier lashes in Lady Grace on the lids, coupled with Lisa Eldridge True Velvet Matte in Velvet Blush. Despite us using, however, like the punchiest shimmers and mattes in here, I still feel the hue is soft enough to achieve everyday looks with. You could keep it more mauvey and perhaps apply Bisou on the lid, because this seems to be the less inconspicuous color in terms of duochrome this and that. If you don't want this shade on the lid, again, you could apply this on the lid, or maybe you apply one of the lighter mattes on the lid just as a change of pace instead of having something shimmery on the lid. The Violette shimmer, however, is gorgeous. I think it's a really beautiful color, and despite it being purple, you could safely use this without feeling like, oh my god, too much. Or maybe you apply this on the lower lash line instead. Here, why don't we take this off and try it out? I'll be right back. All right, let's get rolling because mom's making tacos and we could not be late for that, okay? Let's try this first matte shade. We see what it does on its own. Just as I suspected, it lightens up my lid. It might be inner corner highlight moment. If you're deeper than me, it might be, you know, a lighter matte color. If you're lighter than me, it could show up as something on your crease. Take a look at this shade because I think we did this one on the first round. This is a little more pinky in tone. Did we do this one already? Oh my heavens, I don't remember. Here, why don't we go in with this one just in case, because I completely forgot. I think this is a good way to go because I was toying with the notion of maybe just doing an all matte eye on the matte cooler side, and perhaps we can achieve that here. Elderberry, however, perhaps to make a little wing with. This is from, again, Tuckahoe holiday set from their blue collection. It has a name, forgive me. I will post the collection link down below. But elderberry on the lash line looks good, although I'm totally screwing up. This is what happens. I underestimate the slope of my wing. I take it too shallow, and then when I open my eye, it looks like it's going down. Want to go up? Okay, a little better, a little better. Maybe take it here on the... Ooh, someone's tearing up. Outer lower lash line. I'm trying to salvage this because it's appearing a lot darker because it's mixing with my tears. But I'm trying to make it look cohesive. You definitely don't have to do a big wing like this. I take them really big because I think they photograph better and you could just see the color on camera. Taking this VIseart duochrome, same little brush we used to apply the wing with. Now on the inner part of the eye, pulling it under. Okay, not bad, not bad. I wanted this demo to be all about the soft eye, so I'm trying to not, you know, overload the looks with how I did it in the first round. Maybe we'll just go in with one more shade to kind of create a little more contrast here. You know what, let's go in with Grenache just to, you know, smoke it up a little bit, not too much. Maybe this will be the more daily friendly eye. This is a Wayne Goss number 4 from his Essential collection, or just the original collection. So we're just getting a little bit of more color here on the lid and crease. Grenache on the lower lash line. And I wanted to apply Bisou on my lid because we didn't give this a shot on the lid. I want to see how that does, if it's going to keep us in the elevated everyday realm or do something else, you know what I'm saying? That's nice. Nice veil of shimmer, not too overwhelming, not too overpowering. A good way to go if you don't want to apply Violette on the lid if you think it's too much. How about we play with this shade on the lash line? Not bringing it out like we did with elderberry, but more just creating a little more contrast from the rest of the lid. So you just see that little pop of magenta matte there. I'm trying not to take it up. I get carried away. I'm like, keep it in, Alicia, keep it in. Tapping several layers. Again, as I wanted to show, I'm taking it a little wider because I am applying lashes and I don't want the band to cover it up. It's good, not bad, not bad. You know what? Let's go in with this shade because the last round we used a shimmer for the inner part of the eye. How about we use like this pastel matte for like our inner corner or something. I think that's a great way to go. And this has a nice color to it. So not shimmery, but like a nice surprise to have there on the inner part of the eye. Bisou on the inner corner, connecting to what we have on the lid. All right, chandelier lashes are on. Hopefully you can still see, you know, our wing attempts. And I would consider this round to be a little more low-key than the first. If you felt those were too punchy or the combinations of shades you might not gravitate towards, you saw how they could still be soft, especially because the hues of the mattes aligning with what the Violette description is. Not your everyday neutral. You have the mauves, you have the soft lavenders, and I think it just offers up a really nice shade to apply on your crease that gives you a little bit of color, again different from your typical brown, tan, and orange terracotta shade, to offer up a little more character. And as you see, you could place the matte and shimmers anywhere on your eye. We apply the lavender matte here on the inner corner just to kind of change it up, and then instead of applying a shimmer, we relied on the shade of the matte to be applied on the lid and use the deeper matte shades as wings to create a little more contrast on the lash line. And here's a wide shot of the look. On the lips, I have the Lisa Eldridge lipstick, again in Velvet Blush. I hope these demos were helpful to you, fam, if you were deciding on Violette Etendú. If you already have Lila and you're like, you know what, I pass. But if you want both, I get it. If you don't have Lila, however, but you are still looking for that purple palette, not as big, not as expensive, then I think you should consider Violette Etendú. This is a first impressions as I just hopped into it today, but I love the shades included in here. I think, again, so thoughtfully created, as VIseart palettes usually are. A nice mixture of mattes and shimmers, although looking at this, definitely more matte dominant. If you lean more matte heavy versus shimmer, then maybe you'll consider this palette. We're looking only at 4 shimmers, but I think you have a nice arrangement. You have the 2 softer hues, the icy lavender one, as well as the more lavender beigey shimmer. And then you have the duochromes here that have a little more punch. Violette here, like that nice rich royal purple shimmer that you can apply not only on your lash line, not only on your lid, but under the lash line. In fact, that's what I forgot to do. Let me take this shade, is right under here. See what that did? Hold on. See what that did? It's purple, but it still looks soft. That's what it's about. I also think a good balance of the mauves with the more punchier purple hues. The inclusion of this matte, I think, ties it all together, that it doesn't all lean mauve and plum. You still have the lavender, you still have the more royal tone purples in here. Therefore, I think this to be a beautiful arrangement of shades. The design of the palette itself just beautifully reflects what is in the palette, and I had a lovely time using Violette. So let me know if it's on your radar, if these demos helped. Other comparisons that I might have missed, probably, you know, knowing me. I'll see you in the comments down below, fam, and until then, that is all right. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you in here again with another review tutorial, VIseart palette extravaganza, monthly favorites, nightly live chit chat, or weekly vlog. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.